All right, that works for me.
All right. All right, Mary Beth, Dan, we're live. We're live on the social streams. We're back, baby. Hey, if you're just now tuning in, because this is now popped up again in your feed, and you saw another one, we had a little technical difficulty, and we had to stop the live stream and start it over to make sure that, that the audio was going to work. Now, here's the thing. You know what inauguration is like? It's like you stopped an administration, and then you started one all over again. It's like the perfect day for a stop and restart. That's what today is. We have inaugurated a new live stream here, and now we are inaugurating an entirely new administration. So glad you're with us. This is Vote Common Good. Vote Common Good set out in 2018 to ask people of good conscience, goodwill, and people of good faith to stop the madness with Donald Trump. And we wanted to inaugurate a new way into our country when Election Day on November 3rd came. And that day came. And it was really a great day to see that the country came together. And then today, this inauguration day, Robb and I came from our places, Minneapolis and Arkansas. And we came here to Washington, D.C. because we wanted to raise our voices along with all the rest of you. And we wanted to bear witness to the people waking up, speaking up, and standing up. And we got to watch outside of the security, all the security that was brought to us because people decided to invade the Capitol and to invade democracy. So it's a whole lot of security, a whole lot of policing, a whole lot of wall building. But today, on this day of this inauguration, when Joe Biden and Kamala Harris became the vice president and Joe Biden the president, I think Kamala Harris being the vice president is one of the greatest parts of this whole day, is that we know that these walls now need to come down. The security borders, they need to come down. The separation, the razor wire, the razor words that have separated people from each other. And we're not just going to go back to the way things were before. We're going to step into something new. So we say at Vote Common Good, this is our celebration of the inauguration of President Biden and Vice President Harris, but it's also a calling forward. We're celebrating as an act of calling forward for what could be. So we have more than 20 people who've set up live presentations and videos. And if we've made this technology work right, then you're going to hear those videos and you're going to hear the voices of these people. So we're really glad that you're with us. Thanks if you had to put up with some technical restarts. But hey, if we've all had to put up with some restarts in our country, then that's what we're going to look forward to for the next 4 years. And look, there's a lot of work left to do. As we've been saying at Vote Common Good, electing a new president doesn't solve all of our problems, but the president shouldn't be the problem. So we got that one ticked off of our list, and now it's time for us to move forward and take on all the other pending issues. So I'm really excited to tell you that Natalie Bergman is our first video. Now you might say to yourself, I've been around the Vote Common Good world. I haven't yet met Natalie. That's because Natalie Bergman is new to the Vote Common Good community. And we just had the chance to meet her recently, and we're so glad that she's part of this work. And we want you to know that Vote Common Good is going to continue on. This is inauguration for us and the work we're going to keep doing and bring an end to the kind of radicalization that's happened inside the Christian faith that we saw on display 2 weeks ago today. But it's also a chance for us to launch some new projects that we're going to be doing. And a lot of new things are going to be coming in our work together as we work with candidates and voters and leaders all over the country. So we're really excited that Natalie's part of this because she's part of the new voices that are going to be part of Vote Common Good. So we want your voice. We want other people's voices. We want people to be part of this. We want to see this as a big platform for people to be able to step on. So without any further ado, to the video that we think you're going to enjoy from Natalie. It's a little introduction from her and then a music video that she has just recently launched in her effort of being a part of a record label, Jack White's record label. And we're glad that she's part of this and glad she's part of the Vote Common Good world. So here's a little introduction and then the video from Natalie Bergman.
Hey there, my name is Natalie Bergman, and I am honored to be a part of today's event with Vote Common Good. It is very important in the world right now to be a voice of love and of faith and light, and to approach our fellow man the way that Christ approaches us, and that is with love and mercy. I support the mission of Vote Common Good, and today I'd like to share a musical piece that I wrote about perseverance during an unkind time. It's a song about my unwavering faith through it all. So have a listen, and thanks so much.
And now, her fantastic video. I think that is so tremendously fun and so great. So Natalie, thanks for being a part of this. Hey, Stephany Spaulding has also been part of this Vote Common Good effort. She ran for Congress, she ran for Senate. She's a pastor. She's from Colorado, and she's right here with us. Hey, Steph.
Hey, it is so good to be here with both you, Doug, Rob, and all of the Vote Common Good family. It is a tremendous honor to just know the work that Vote Common Good has done over the past few years in moving our nation forward, right? We have suffered in the darkness for so long, but as Natalie's saying, lead us out of darkness into the light. And that's the feeling and the work that I get from Vote Common Good, right? That we are moving out of the darkness, that we are committed to being in the light. And as Amanda Gorman reminded us today, that the light is not some place to go, but the light is within us if we have the courage to be it, right? So now is not the time for us to just simply celebrate, but yes, enjoy the moment, enjoy the fact that we have a new administration, that there is a new day before us as a nation in the presidency of President Joe Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris. Enjoy that. But let us not go back to sleep over the next 4 years or ever. There's still so much work for righteousness for us to do. And as I believe, as the scripture tells me, what does God require of us but to do justice, to love mercy, and to walk humbly with God? And that is our call right now, to not leave them stranded, nor those who have relied on this moment for so long. For the last 4 years, for the last 500 years, we must continue to carry the torch of what is righteous in this nation and to move it forward. So continue to walk with us, join Vote Common Good, share the work that we are doing, because we cannot do it by ourselves, and neither can this administration. Let us move forward and be the light that is so necessary in this world. Thank you.
Hey, thank you, Stephany. It's really great. And hey, our next video is from Michael Waters. Michael has been a part of a number of our events, really wanted to be here tonight, but as another speaking event, like so many people do on this particular day. So here is a video that I think you will love and I think you will appreciate from Michael Waters. So.
There is a statement that I have heard repeated with great frequency for the better part of the last year. It is a statement always made with earnest, yet it is a statement that I believe to always be made in error. I'm confident that you have heard it spoken as well. You may have even uttered it once or twice, but every time I hear it, it causes me to shudder. It sounds something like this: I can't wait for things to return to normal. I understand the longing for the coronavirus pandemic to cease. I understand the desire to visit friends and loved ones safely again. I understand the desire to gather together corporately in worship, in schools and restaurants, for concerts without fear of infection. I understand the desire to return to work, to get the economy moving again. I even understand the statement as it was being made in reference to seeing a new presidential administration obtain power. However, I must profess to you tonight that a return to normal is a return to going backwards. A return to normal is a return to complacency. A return to normal is to callously dismiss the horrors and brutalities manifest throughout quote unquote normal times. A return to normal is no less than a return to mass incarceration. A return to normal means a return to family separation. A return to normal means a return to underfunded public schools and the arts. A return to normal is a return to Black and brown bodies broken by police in the streets. A return to normal is a return to minimum wage that traps generations of workers in poverty. A return to normal means a lack of access to health care for the sick. A return to normal means a return to food and technological apartheid. A return to normal is a return to active systems of white supremacy. A return to normal is a return to death. Friends, we have struggled too long. We have sacrificed too much to now simply return to normal. We must never return. We must never go back. We must be committed now to racing forward to something much better. It was while incarcerated in Ephesus that the Apostle Paul penned these words: "No, dear brothers and sisters, I have not achieved it, but I focus on this one thing, forgetting the past and looking forward to what lies ahead. I press on to reach the end of the race." That word for press here is dioko, which means I press back against everything that is pressing against me. So friends, no, let's not go back to normal. Let's not go back to hate. Friends, no, let's not go back to normal. Let's not go back to injustice. Friends, let's not go back to normal. Let's not go back to despair. Let's not go back to normal. We must go on to that place where Dr. King says we achieve the total, direct, and immediate abolition of poverty. No, not back to normal. Let's go forward towards something better. Let's commit our work to continue to move forward till that great day that justice flows like waters and righteousness like a mighty stream. Amen.
And that, friends, is Michael Waters. I don't know if you've had a privilege of being with Michael, but he has a way of crystallizing, and it is such a good gift. Boy, it's a long path, isn't it, for how we're going to go? It's a long way. It's something that requires, as we say in Vote Common Good, a little bit of faith and a little bit of hope. Of course, a whole lot of love. And Meah Pace has crafted a song that we have watched develop in the life of the Vote Common Good tour. It has become anthemic in our work, her ability to call us, and they put it together into a beautiful video. So Meah, would you like to say a word about I Hope, and then we'll watch the video?
Sure, Doug. Thank you. I Hope is our baby. It's our baby. We all nurtured it. And this is a sentiment that I think I share with everyone on this screen today, and hopefully everyone around the country. It's what we need for the future. I need us all to go on. Everyone needs us to go on. And we need to have a little bit of hope for ourselves and for our neighbor. Enough for everybody. So I hope that you all will enjoy this. These are words that came just kind of from above. And I cried when I wrote this song, and I cried today when I watched the inauguration. What a beautiful day. So please, I hope you enjoy it. And thank you all, Vote Common Good, for helping to nurture this song and make it what it is.
Well, Meah, it's a beautiful song, and having watched it be so impactful on so many people live, the idea that you've crafted this terrific video. So many times we've watched you sing it here, and for a lot of people, I think this might be the first time they're going to see this version. It's on YouTube. All this stuff is available. I want you to take all these bits and pieces and share them around. So here's the video version of I Hope.
This you say, our lives do not matter, and justice has no face. To study war and anger burns the fabric of our state, sends a message to our neighbors that we've fallen from the fray. It's a long road to walk on, and I don't know where it is, but I hope. And when I'm too tired to carry on, I don't know if you'll be there, but I hope. Dream on, dreamers, when the promises fade. Can only leave room for the great. And when you long for a hero, no need to look around. You will be one and the same. I said, fight on, brother. To kneel or to stand. It's a power that's placed in your hands, yeah, yeah. And march on, sisters. You're never alone. Lift us up and carry us home. 'Cause it's a long road to walk home. And I don't know where it is, but I hope. And when I'm too tired to carry on, I don't know if you'll be there, but I hope. If you should stray or give up someday,
I mean, come on, right? Isn't that just something else? Meah, so great. And that must be one long road because it went from dark night to the middle of the day and you're walking down that whole road. And we do have a long road to walk down. Hey, you're going to hear see a video now from Laura Truax. She is the pastor at LaSalle Street Church in Chicago. Laura has been part of our Vote Common Good world, and she's also going to be a co-host with Stephany Spaulding and me and another person named Dominique on Wednesdays. We're going to be launching a podcast, a daily podcast here in just a couple of weeks. So keep an eye out for that. And Laura's going to be one of the co-hosts. And then after that, you're going to hear from Amy Sullivan. And then after that, you're going to hear from Christy Berghoff. Now, Amy and Christy are here live with us, so they'll pick it up right after that. So it'll go Amy, or it'll go Laura, and then Amy, and then Christy. So here's Laura Truax.
Hello, everyone. Laura Truax from LaSalle Street Church in Chicago, Illinois. Very grateful to be with you and very grateful to be on the eve of a new administration. For almost the entire tenure of the Trump administration, I've been part of a daily meditation group. We've immersed ourselves in the practice of silence and in the wisdom of Black theologians and practitioners. We've listened to the insights of Howard Thurman, that the only religion worth proclaiming is one that has something to say to the man whose back is against the wall. We've read the witness of Congressman John Lewis, who, beaten mercilessly by the system, still found a way to believe that system could be redeemed. Indeed, believe it so completely that he would spend 34 years working within that system. We've been challenged by the teaching of Martin Luther King, who kept pushing and pushing and pushing toward a kind of unyielding, open-handed resistance to evil. Every morning, I sat under that teaching and the gaze of God. My heart and my faith awakened. And every afternoon, after a slew of news, that same teaching was tested. Alongside my awakened heart and faith, daily I was pressed, do I actually believe this? Is this the advice of a bygone era? When does love lead with retribution or revenge? When can I humiliate the oppressors? Not only because it feels good, but also because they deserve it. Just when do I write off the deplorables because they are deplorable? What does my faith demand of me? It was my Muslim friend, Ibu Patel, who reminded me of this profound truth of democracy, that we always have to live with those we have defeated, and vice versa. You have a stake in them being better than their worst selves, he wrote, and you have a stake in them going through a positive change. Thurman, Lewis, King, they called us to our better selves, not only for our own sake, but for the sake of our enemies. I don't want to hear that. I want to explain it away. But their faith wouldn't let them evade this truth, that faith loves, and that love holds people accountable for their words, for their violence, for their crimes. But love also believes. No, beyond that, love acts. Love acts. It acts with the conviction that some of these liars, some of these violent people can and will be changed, and that you have a role in that. King understood love was at the heart of the gospel, and that wasn't soft or anemic or sentimental. It was, as King preached it, a very strong love that could carry Christ to a cross and send Paul sailing unembittered through the angry seas of persecution. What does love look like right now? On this Inauguration Day, this formal beginning? A friend from Pennsylvania said he was going to be approaching his neighbors one by one to listen and to offer his own opinions about this stop the steal lie. He was going to approach the one waving the Trump flag and the one who said they don't do politics. It's a one-man march of love. Another noted that she was changing her rhetoric, as she writes her congresswoman, Less about shaming and a series of expletives and more about, you're better than this. Our community is better than this. We demand better. I want my words to offer a way of change. For all of us, it's getting involved beyond our own echo chamber, and I suspect the various judgments we've used, that we might have even written off entire groups of people or parties completely. During this time of leadership change, I'm going to keep my faith centered on what kept John Lewis centered too. The complete certainty he had that the only weapon we have, the weapon of love, will win this thing. Even more than that, Lewis believed love had already won this thing. We just had to do our part in living that reality. Think about that. Let me close with some of his last written words. He said, faith is being so sure of what the Spirit has whispered in your heart that your belief in its eventuality is unshakable. Nothing can make you doubt that what you have heard will become a reality. What we were communicating through nonviolent protest, he said, what we were demonstrating by being willing to put our bodies on the line, was that love had already overcome hate. That the pages of America's book had already been written. That this nation's destiny was already sealed in the moment it was founded. We were simply actors, dramatizing our faith in the supremacy of one truth that no law, no centuries-old tradition, no military force, no matter how ferocious, could undermine the dictates of the divine. That same truth is true today. May we have the courage, sisters and brothers, the courage to go and live likewise, to hold faith and love together tenaciously. Amen.
So good. Amy Sullivan, tough act to follow, but you're a tough actor.
That's all right. I'm just up the road from Laura in Evanston, Illinois. And today is a relief for so many reasons, but I think especially for those of us who have had to parent over the last 4 years. Today means that we no longer have to remind our children not to act like the most powerful man in the world. Watching the inauguration ceremonies with my 7-year-old was a useful reminder of that. He was asking me, of course, where President Trump was. And I explained as objectively as I thought I could that he had not wanted to show up today. And he said, but Hillary Clinton was there 4 years ago. Said, I think I would feel pretty gloomy if I lost, but I would show up. Which is a reminder yet again, is if we needed one, that 7-year-olds are often more wise than the people we sometimes choose to run our country. But I was struck by what Laura just said about love acting and love requiring us to act. It's not just a feeling, it's an active verb. Another way of thinking about that is a very simple phrase that I've been struck by and convicted by over the last year from Jemar Tisby in his writing and in his speaking, which is just the phrase, justice takes sides. It's another way of saying what Reverend King told us more than 50 years ago, specifically focused or directed to white Christians, which is, you are taking a side, even when you think that you are choosing to remain outside politics. By supposedly not taking a side, you have taken a side. And I think that that is something that many of us in white churches are still not quite coming to grips with. We think maybe we did our duty by putting up a Biden-Harris sign. Maybe we did our duty by voting what we saw as the right way. But as this evening is a reminder, there is so much more work to do. And there are choices that face every one of us, big choices and little choices. And what I would like to do is challenge those of us who are white Christians to see those choices and embrace them as opportunities to do justice. They can be, in my view, somewhat small. Last week, I was out on Twitter after Franklin Graham had gone after Democrats for pursuing impeachment and tried to wipe away the last 4 years by saying, hey, we need unity here. What are they trying to do, dividing the country? And reminded people that it is a choice for their churches to participate in things like Samaritan Purse's Operation Shoebox around Christmas time. But that is not a politically neutral choice, given Franklin Graham's advocacy over the past few years, and given the fact that there are so many worthy ways to help our neighbors and to get churches involved, especially around the holidays. And if your church is one that has traditionally been involved with Franklin Graham's organization, go to your pastor and say, you know what, I've got an idea for something else that we could do, because now is the time to make that change. It could be for some organizations who are maybe choosing new leadership right now, a choice not to go with a culture warrior. Maybe not to, in the first 100 days of the Biden-Harris administration, send out fundraising appeals that are demonizing opponents when we are just 2 weeks removed from the consequences of words and actions that demonize those with whom we disagree. There should be some pretty easy ways that we can dial down the temperature while not backing away from holding feet to the fire, and particularly the feet of those who helped seed the groundwork for the attack on the Capitol 2 weeks ago. We all have choices. And a phrase that has been coming back to me is the quote that's attributed to Edmund Burke, as with so many quotes on the internet. Who knows who actually said it? But his version, I think, is all that is necessary for evil to triumph is for good people to do nothing. And I think we can think of it this way. The only thing necessary for injustice to flourish is for good Christians to avoid getting political. We all have choices going forward. And I think we know in our heart of hearts the choices that we should make and what the consequences are of doing nothing. So I would leave you, again, just with the words of Jamar Tisby: justice takes sides. And I know what side I'm taking. It's one reason I got out of journalism and got into this work. Now's the time for all of us to take our side.
Well, my name is Christy Berghoff, and I'm coming to you from Holland, Michigan. And it's so good to be back here with the Vote Common Good family. I've missed you guys, and you really know how to light a fire under me. Well, I was raised on a small 40-acre flower farm. My mom was a nurse, and my dad ran the farm. And there's a couple things that were instilled in me growing up that have just really been on my mind a lot in recent days. First, because my mom was a nurse, the hospital was the very last resort when someone got hurt on the farm, which seemed to be frequently for my 3 brothers and I. So whenever I got a gash in my leg or a thorn in my hand, the solution was never just a kiss and a Band-Aid. My mom would clean it out, scrape it out, and sterilize it despite my protests. The pain often seemed absolutely intolerable, but to simply slap a bandage on a potentially infected wound without digging out every little piece of grime could be fatal, and my mother in her wisdom knew this. The second thing I've been thinking about is the process of pruning. Every year, certain varieties of flowering trees and shrubs on the farm had to be cut back. And I remember as a young child out in the fields with my dad, asking him why he was cutting all the strongest, biggest branches off the plant. The trees looked so lopsided and awkward and unfamiliar after they met the saw, and it really didn't make much sense to my young brain. Why would you do this? Aren't we trying to grow these things? And he explained to me that the big branches are old, and while they look impressive, they no longer produce good flowers or fruit. They hog all the water and the nutrients that are drawn up from the soil, and they absorb all the sunlight. All of this simply in their pursuit of getting bigger without actually producing anything. So they looked impressive, but they were empty. So my dad explained if we cut off these self-serving big branches, then thousands of small buds would erupt from those trees the following spring, and there would be enough nutrients for them to share. And each one would push out a branch that would be loaded with blossoms in the spring and full of fruit in the fall. And I've been thinking about these two things a lot lately, and especially as I'm hearing these calls for unity and peace. And thinking about the biblical sense of this word peace, shalom, we call that. And shalom is often defined as the way things are supposed to be. It's not the absence of discomfort. It requires balance and order. It requires hard and painful truth-telling and uncomfortable self-realizations. It demands that centuries-old systems that show favoritism to the wealthy and the white-skinned folks become completely upended and rebuilt in a way that leads to true equality and true peace. And so going forward, I believe we have to strive for this true peace, and that we have to be united in those efforts. There's no quick Band-Aid fix, because peace is not a silent, thin, flesh-colored piece of gauze taped over the deep wounds of injustice in order to keep people comfortable. The pursuit of peace is going to be hard, and it's going to hurt, especially for those of us who've grown accustomed to controlling the narrative for so long. It's going to require digging out the poison that's raging as a fever in our flesh. And true peace can't look like a tree that, while impressive in stature, consists of a few big dominating branches failing to produce good fruit while leaving small buds fighting for unsustainable bits of nourishment. Peace looks like the tree whose many thousands of small branches come together to produce an enormous feast for the eyes and a feast for the birds. Today was an amazing day in the United States. We can all agree on that. I think it was a really significant step forward. A big obstacle in the way of human flourishing was removed today. But eliminating Donald Trump from power and handing control to the House, the Senate, and the White House over to Democrats does not make us suddenly healed or pruned or whole. Though many will try to persuade us that this is the case, today simply gets us a step closer to removing the layers and the centuries of blood-soaked bandages so that we can begin to really stare deep into the root of our afflictions, as uncomfortable as it will be for many of us. So this is where I think we are today. I celebrate this incredible historical moment. I also know that the thrill of this moment will slowly fade. And as it does, we need to each think about the ways we are going to roll up our sleeves in the days ahead and head out to the fields. My dad always used to say, as he called my brothers and me out to the back 40 on those hot summer days, "Let's go, kids. The more hands, the lighter the work." And I always found this to be true, and that working together even brought some joy to what would otherwise be back-breaking work in the hot sun. And this work we need to do will require every willing person to stand up and to speak up and to do their part as we unify around our vision for shalom and as we work for a truly more peaceful world. Thanks.
Christy Berghoff, thank you so much. Amy Sullivan, thank you so much. We're going to hear from Brandon Pfeiffer. Brandon's made video of music. Brandon, with our group, has been a musician. He's been a setup person. He's been a web developer. He's done a lot. And from your comments, Christy, that from the fields, we're going to shout. And from the rooftops, we're going to sing. I think you'll understand why I say that here in a minute. So this is Brandon Pfeiffer.
Hey, my name is Brandon Pfeiffer from the Vote Common Good Tour. I am up here on our rooftop in Chicago. You can see the city back there. And I remember I got home from the tour the day that Joe Biden was announced as the expected winner of the election. And we came up on the roof, and across all the city, you could look out in all directions, and people were setting off fireworks and cheering. And there was just so much momentum and energy that day. I want to play a song for you that we played a few times on the tour, and it's called We Shall Be Free. It's by one of my favorites, Garth Brooks. When the last child cries for a crust of bread and the last man dies for words that he said. I gotta tell you one more thing that I just remembered. Garth Brooks has played this song at the last two presidential, sorry, he didn't play it at Trump's. He played it at the two prior inaugurations for Bush and Obama. When the last child cries for a crust of bread and the last man dies for words he said, when there is shelter over the poorest head, we shall be free. When we're free to love anyone we choose, and this world's big enough for all different views, when we all can worship in our own joie, we shall be free. And we shall be free. We shall be free. Stand straight, walk proud, we shall be free. And when money talks for the very last time, and nobody walks a step behind, when there's only one race, humankind, we shall be free. We shall be we shall be free. So stand straight and walk proud. We shall be free. Stand straight, have faith. We shall be free.
Well done, Brandon. Well done. And nice fade out at the end there. Very Garth Brooks of you. Well played, my friend. Hey, we really do see that Vote Common Good is a storyline all over the country. And from the rooftop in Chicago to the pastor's house in New York is where we go. And this is the Reverend Jacquie Lewis.
Hi, everyone. I'm the Reverend Dr. Jacquie Lewis, and I'm the Senior Minister of Middle Collegiate Church in New York. I'm also part of the Vote Common Good family, so I'm delighted to have this opportunity to be with you today as we celebrate the inauguration of President Joe Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris. We worked hard, didn't we, to make this happen, and we just get to celebrate and be thankful to God and to each other for hard work well done. I'm praying for both of them right now and asking God to bless them and shelter them and show them the way to make America fair, just, loving, peaceful, and equitable, maybe for the very first time. We know they can't do it by themselves. We know that they're going to need us to do it, and they're going to need our prayers, But that's my hope, that we can together shoulder up and show the world what justice looks like. This has been an incredibly tough time, right? I mean, how many hundreds of thousands of people that we've lost to COVID, the livelihood and the work that people have lost to COVID, the way they don't make ends meet, the way people feel isolated as they're still sheltered in place. And not only that, this last year was horrific around the issues of race and violence enacted upon Black people in particular, trans people. We have not shown our best self. And people say this isn't America, and I'm saying, yeah, actually it is. From where I sit, it is who we have been. And if we're going to be different, if we're going to make it better, if we're going to make it just and fair and equitable, then we have to be honest and have truth so we can have reconciliation. I don't think I've ever had this difficult a time in my life, except for 3 years ago, almost 4 now, when we lost my mom to cancer, to stage 4 small cell lung cancer that had metastasized already by the time the doctors found it. That this woman lived for 7 years and gave us energy and courage and life lessons for 7 years after being diagnosed is nothing short of a miracle. And everything I think about my mom, I think about her brave fight. She was a love warrior, a peacemaker, and I'm sure she'd be thrilled at where we're at right now with Kamala and Joe. But let me tell you a scripture that is in my mind right now. It's from Romans. I'm not always picking Paul to read, but this is actually one of my favorite texts in the entire scripture. I consider the sufferings of this present time not worth comparing with the glory about to be revealed to us. For the creation waits with eager longing for the revealing of the children of God. For the creation was subjected to futility, not of its own will, but by the will of the one who subjected it, in hope that the creation itself would be set free from its bondage to decay and will obtain the freedom of the glory of the children of God. Obtain the freedom of the glory of the children of God. I love this text. I love that all of creation is waiting for the children of God to show themselves so that it can be freed, liberated, redeemed. I'm a proud grandmother of 2 little ones, one who's just a year old now, and I'm remembering his mom, Gabby, on the day of labor, and the physical pain, the obvious physical pain, the tough labor pains that she was experiencing. You could see it in her face. You could see it rippling up her body, almost like from her toes to her head. You could see the pain that Gabby was in. And I could only think about this text. I could only think about how Octavius was going to be revealed. This beautiful bundle of glory was going to come out of Gabby after this tough labor. And friends, my mom labored to breathe, labored to live, labored to bequeath us love and lessons. One of the last things she said to my dad was for him to be a mother to us, to mommy us, to mother us. And he has. My dad has mothered us in ways that he never did before. He showed his feminine side, and he showed his compassion, his kindness, his gentleness, especially to my siblings who really needed it the most. He's just shown up in the most powerful way. The connection I'm making here between Gabby's labor pains and my mom's laboring to breathe and my dad taking on this incredibly nurturing womb-like role in our lives is that we actually are the ones we've been waiting for. We're the ones to give birth to a new nation, to a new America, to new ways of being, family together, people together, across religion, across difference, across division, across party. I mean, you and I are the children of God who are waiting to be born anew, to show the world what it looks like to be liberators and to be free. So my prayer for all of us is to know that we've got to come on out of the womb. We've got to come on out of the places we hide. We've got to show ourselves to be love warriors, to stand up for what is just and fair, because the whole creation is waiting for us to show us off, to show them who we are, to lead the world with love and womb-like compassion. This is how we're going to partner with Biden and Harris to make America loving and just and free for the very first time. It's going to be hard labor, but we can do it together. May it be so.
Yes, Jacquie Lewis, may it be so. From New York, now over to North Carolina. And John Pavlovitz put these thoughts together just today. He really wanted also to be live. But people have really found that putting these little videos together feels like different energy, and they really love doing it. So we're glad that they are. Here's John Pavlovitz.
Well, hello, dear friends. It is so good to be with you tonight to celebrate a day we have all been working toward. And I thought I'd have some words of wisdom for you tonight, but I really haven't been able to capture today. The kids have been wondering why Dad's crying so much, and I don't think I can really process it. I thought I would share some words I've written. I wrote these on the morning of January 6th, and of course that day changed dramatically, but these words have taken on new meaning for me now. And I hope that they'll be encouraging to you as we move forward, and then that we can remember this in the difficult days that will be ahead. It's called the Dawn of American Hope. The night has a way of fooling you. Though it's a temporary condition, it can convince you it's permanent, that it will always be this dark, this terrifying, this lightless. It tries to take away your will. See, the night has a way of making you believe that the sun will never rise again, that you will always feel the way you do, and that you should abandon hope for good. The key is in staying, in not surrendering to the real nightmare visions and the fearful false stories, and remaining awake long enough to see the light begin to break through, to see the dawn arriving, because it always comes. It will not be denied. Do you see it? Do you feel the light changing in the room? Do you feel the warmth upon your face? Morning is breaking through, and it's time to greet it. This is a victorious shout into the wind, a long overdue megaphone blast of joyful defiance. It is a clarion call to those whose hearts could take no further breaking. This is the end of a long, brutal, losing war with the night. It is the dawn announcing itself in radiant, unapologetic fire. And for a while, we may have forgotten what it feels like to be so hopefully ablaze in this way. The fight will do that to you. It will wear you out. It will drain you. It will suffocate and extinguish all that is lightness within you. And we'd grown so weary and bitter and tired from all of it that we'd almost forfeited the very best of us. We almost conceded defeat and willingly surrendered to the hateful. We almost consented to the violence around us. We almost relinquished our dreams. We almost abandoned hope. Almost. But morning is here, and we are being made new again. We are a people turning and returning, a revolution in real time. We are boldly declaring our independence from the darkness. This is an audacious treason of sorts, a daring defection from the homeland of our recent days. It's a place that no longer merits our allegiance, and so we run from it joyfully. We are running toward somewhere better, building something greater. We've seen too much suffering, bound up too many wounds, buried too many before their time. We've grown exhausted by the violence of venomous words and from the destruction they so easily speak into being. We are seeking the words that give life. Today is rebirth and renewal and resurrection exploding all around like a spring of every living thing. In this blinding and beautiful daylight, we are moving now to rescue something precious that we lost. We've seen our nation hijacked by hatred, and we have resisted. We are gently but surely reclaiming it from the hands of the hurtful and restoring it to the brilliant luster that only comes when everyone gets to hold on to it. We are ready to begin the difficult work of this day to craft the America that could be but has never yet been. We are a people waking up to who we are, family formed not by homeland border or religious affiliation or political lines or any other distinction or demarcation, but by the sacred kinship of our shared humanity. Our very blood testifies to the one life that we all walk together in. And this is the DNA of our joy today. This is the reason for our expectant hearts so fully affixed to our sleeves. This is the reason we will strain to never go back to the dark places and to the hateful words and to the dead-end tombs of the past. We are, after all, a people of life. The morning once again reminds us this is the truth that overcomes. This is the love that has the last, loudest word. This is why we once again find strength and passion and resolve. This is our manifesto of hope. Hope is indeed alive. It resides within us. We are that hope together. So come alive, rise, shine. The morning is here and the morning is ending. Welcome to the dawn. It's such a great day and I'm grateful to be a part of it. Thank you to all of you for the work that you do, that you've been doing and that you will do. Stay greatly encouraged. Peace.
So good, John. So good. Rob and I were sitting here talking. Maybe you're doing the same thing. Like, we need to make sure we take all these videos that people have and make sure they're shareable around in all the other ways. There's a real video collection being created in this inauguration as we inaugurate something new. Well, back up to New York, Queens, New York, where the Reverend Vince Anderson, who has been the chief architect of our musical experience, he's going to have two songs for us tonight. Here's one of the two. And so here's Vince Anderson.
Next song, I sang it every week, every day on the bus, next to the bus, by the bus, in front of the bus, under the bus, I don't know. And it's been a lament for a lot of us. But now, through the lament, like President Biden said, joy comes in the morning. So the song of lament becomes an optimistic song of praise and a call to love. I know that times are tough now and many doors are closed. Well, we step into the light, only wind up feeling alone. Well, they say we should walk by faith and not to walk by sight. But damn, it's dark out here and it's hard to see at night. Sometimes the tears don't stop, and I wonder, will we just dry up and blow away like the sand? Oh, all alone in this dry land. In the wilderness we cry out. Is anybody there? Is anybody listening? Where does anybody care? 'Cause all around all we see is pain, and we're feeling that deep within. We pray, make us like heaven. Well, now when will that begin? 'Cause heaven seems so far beyond our grasp. How long must we suffer here now? How long will this all last? now. We need you now. Yeah, we need you now. We need you now. Well, we need you right now. So please don't give up, 'cause we need you now. We need you now, right now.
And Vince, I think back to the days on the tour when it was safe to say to people during that song, get up and go across the aisles and find somebody and sing in their face and tell them you need them now and to hold them. And as we move forward, those days are ahead of us as well. Okay, from New York all the way taking us over to Michigan, a place that we've all thought a lot about and spent a lot of time in. And over to Nick Brock. And a fun little story here. Nick was our host for our event in Holland this year. And we liked Nick a lot and he seemed to like us. So we said, hey, Nick, why don't you come with us and come along on the next stop over near Detroit. And then why don't you come on over to Pennsylvania? Pretty soon Nick was living on the bus and stayed with us all the way through to Election Day. So as we like to say, we're trying to get everybody we can on this bus. And we'd love to have you. So Nick, thanks for getting on that bus and thanks for being with us tonight.
Hey, good evening, friends. Thank you for having me. I'm so glad to be a part of this. I'd just like to share a few words this evening with you. So for nearly a quarter of a century, a simple 14-word oath of office for Congress was sufficient to undertake the work. But 1 month into the 1861 inauguration of Abraham Lincoln, a groundswell of division ripened the context for national uncertainty and shifting loyalties, splitting the nation in two and producing a civil war. Congress wanted to prevent those affiliated with insurrection and sedition from politics, and thus created what was called the Ironclad Oath Test, a law that added words to the already 14 to prevent and expose disloyal conduct. So in a similar fashion, the resonance from that era pertaining to national uncertainty and a shifting of policies, a shifting of loyalties, seeks to beget a similar test of loyalty. So amidst the whispers for a soft civil war, what additional words, if any, should we consider to run alongside the office of our elected officials, to include the highest office of the land? I humbly submit to you that the answer to this question is hiding in plain sight. But in order to answer this question, though it must be diverted away from the inevitable and false dichotomies and towards an appeal for length, breadth, and depth, I appeal to those elected officials who by tradition have sworn or affirmed their oath of office upon a Bible, though it is not required by the Constitution, and towards the loyalty that lays therein. But most pointedly, I'd like to direct my appeal to those who campaign upon Christian values and invoke Christian rhetoric in order to persuade voters of faith. So I offer this short exhortation by addressing my US representative from Michigan as an example. And it goes like this. Dear Congressman Bill Huizenga, by grace and through circumstances acting upon your own goodwill, I urge you, sir, to extend the full weight and measure of your discernment, solemnity, and veracity for office to Holy Writ for which you have placed your hand upon. And as you boldly petition the Almighty for a blessing upon the tasks laid before you, may the timeless virtues to which you were called, faith, hope, and love, where love is the greatest of these, be just as bold for your petition of favor. With the readiness of Scripture placed at your hand, May you allow for the words of the saints and for the great Redeemer to render for you the most excellent way. Love. For as deep calls to deep, and as iron sharpens iron, may your steadfast loyalty to love act, for which the whole of Scripture is merely a commentary upon. May it compel you to speak boldly, to discern wisely, and to move mountains. Sir, follow the way of love in your politics, and you will not fail, because love has already won. Grace and peace to you, friends. Thank you.
Thank you, Nick Brock. For some reason, I'm describing this now by geography. So heading down south, we'll make our way over to South Bend, Indiana. Dan Deitrich is our next. And Dan's also helping to run this whole thing. So Dan, thanks for doing double duty.
Hey everybody, Daniel Deitrich here, part of the Vote Common Good tour and crew. What a beautiful day, filled with hope, and I found myself just tearing up. Surprisingly emotional just to see competence and empathy back in the White House. So great. I wrote this song about a year ago. It's called Hymn for the 81%, and I was really hoping by now it would be irrelevant. But it seems like after the events at the Capitol just 2 weeks ago, we still have a lot of work to do even after a beautiful, hopeful day like today. So I wrote a new verse to it, just wrote it today, and hope you enjoy this and get something from it. I grew up in your churches, Sunday morning, evening service, knelt in tears at the foot of the rugged cross. You taught me every life is sacred, feed the hungry and clothe the naked. Learn from you the highest law is love. I believed you when you said I should trust the words in red to guide my steps through a wicked world. I assumed you'd do the same, so imagine my dismay when I watch you lead the sheep straight to the wolves. You said to love the lost, so I'm loving you now. You said to speak the truth, so I'm calling you out. Why don't you live the words that you put in my mouth? Be love overcome and justice roll down. Oh, they started putting kids in cages, ripping mothers from their babies, and I look to you to speak on their behalf. Oh, but all I heard was silence, or worse, you justified it, singing glory, hallelujah, raise the flag. See, your fear had turned to hatred, but you baptized it with language torn from the pages of the good book. You weaponize religion, and you wonder why I'm leaving to find Jesus on the wrong side of your walls. You said to love the lost, so I'm loving you now. You said to speak the truth, so I'm calling you out. Why don't you live the words that you put in my mouth? May love overcome, justice roll down. Come home, come home. You're better than this. You taught me better than this. Come home, come home. Oh, you're better than this. Always thought you were better than this. Come home, come home. Oh. Maybe I was too naive, or I just didn't want to see. There's always been a little poison in the well. Our churches sit on stolen lands, nation built by stolen hands, and we use the Bible to justify it all. Yeah, from slavery and segregation to mass incarceration. This is who we are, but not who we have to be. There's a lot of work to do to pull out the evil by the roots, and repentance has to come before there's peace. And you said to love the lost, trying to love you now. You said to speak the truth, that's why I'm calling you out. Why don't you live the words that you put in my mouth? May love overcome and justice roll down. May love overcome and justice roll down. May love overcome and justice roll down. May love overcome and justice roll down.
Dan, such great work. Such great work. The old song and the new verses. Boy, that feels like the day you're always wanting to live in, isn't it? Hey, and people are texting me right now saying like, hey, Bruce Springsteen is singing on the inauguration thing live. Tom Hanks is doing. I'm like, hey, we're getting the better end of this deal. So it's not very often I say I'd rather watch that than Bruce Springsteen, but there's no doubt that's the case. We're going to have a Franciscan moment here. Patrick Carolan has been our contact and our chief organizer with our Catholic work. He's a Franciscan, and he's gotten Rod Colburn as a Franciscan. So you're going to see a video from Patrick, and then you're going to hear directly from Rod. So Rod, you can follow up right after Patrick in your in your Franciscan moment. So here's Patrick Carolan.
Good evening. My name is Patrick Carolan. I'm a Catholic activist, a justice leader, and the director of Catholic outreach for Vote Common Good. Today, we witness the swearing in of a new president and vice president, Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. They represent a new beginning for us, both as a nation and as a people of faith. The last 4 years, we have watched our president divide us by promoting an agenda of hatred and divisiveness, a president so devoid of moral character and ethical value that simple truth-telling was lost. We experienced our faith being hijacked by people promoting a message of Islamophobia, of racism, of sexism, of homophobia. It's now time to change the discussion in America, away from building a wall to welcoming a stranger, from worshiping money to caring for the poor and the marginalized, from cutting food stamps to when I was hungry, you fed me. Our last president and even many of our religious leaders seem to have lost their way. They've allowed their faith to be defined by their political beliefs. That's just not how it should be. We now have a president and vice president whose politics, policy are defined and have been formed by their faith beliefs, not reverse. As a Catholic leader and activist, I'm so very grateful that we now have a president who has read, reflected on, and tried to live the beautiful message of love and peace that we find in our Gospels. A president who is not afraid to stand up and read that powerful prayer of St. Francis. Lord, make me an instrument of your peace. Where there is hatred, let me sow love. Where there is injury, pardon. And where there is doubt, faith. Where there is despair, hope. Where there is darkness, light. And where there is sadness, joy. We now have new leaders who welcome the challenge that was given us in Isaiah 58. Is this not the fast that I choose, releasing those bound unjustly, untying the thongs of the yoke, setting free the oppressed, breaking off every yoke? Is it not sharing your bread with the hungry, bringing the afflicted and the homeless into your home, clothing the naked when you see them, not turning your back? Then your light shall break forth like dawn, and your wound shall quickly be healed. Today is the day of hope, hope that our light shall break forth like dawn. In his encyclical Laudato Si, Pope Francis calls us to a bold cultural revolution, not a revolution of guns, but a revolution of spirit, to stop living in a world where we are all separate and come together in a world of interbeing, a world where we are part of God's creation, not separate from creation. In his speech in 1966, Ripple of Hope, in South Africa, right at the height of apartheid, Robert Kennedy said, each time a man stands up for an ideal or acts to improve the lot of others or strikes out against injustice, he sends forth a tiny ripple of hope. In crossing each other from a million different centers of energy and daring, these ripples build a current that can sweep down the mightiest walls of oppression and resistance. Pope Francis ended his encyclical Laudato Si saying it only takes a few people with hope to change the world. So today, let's celebrate. And tomorrow, let's go forth with hope to create a new world centered on love, peace, and justice. Thank you, and peace and all good.
Thank you, Patrick, and thank you for your inspiration. I'm proud to be the first and probably still the only Adventist Franciscan. It's a rare breed. We can't overstate the relief and delight that this inauguration brings. In the immortal words of Kool and the gang, there's a party going on right here, a celebration to last throughout the years. So bring your good times and your laughter too. We're going to celebrate your party with you. Come on now. How many of you remember that? It's been a wrenching emotional journey for all of us, which is why it tastes so very sweet to reach our destination. Our first destination, to be clear, because the journey's only well begun. And that's why we should pause, at least briefly, to celebrate, with or without Kool and the gang. I'd like to celebrate three undersung heroes of the journey. The first fittingly represents the group singly most responsible for turning the country pale Biden-Harris blue, Black women. Meah is rightfully applauded for her singing and her songwriting, but her cheerfulness, perseverance, and strength of character deserve recognition too. COVID sidelined her for much of 2020, but she was a stalwart of the 2018 bus and a fixture of virtual VCG and the delightful electionary series. I still tear up almost every time she sings I Hope. And now I can watch the video, so even more opportunities. Vince also deserves extra credit. I remember eating pizza with him and Doug on a sidewalk outside a Brooklyn pie joint as Doug tried to sell him on becoming the music director for the 18 tour. I don't think so, Vince said. But when the bus rolled into Bethlehem, PA, there he was. And Meah magically appeared too. Vince was chief foodie on that tour, with particular talent for selecting some memorable spots for group dinners out. I remember fondly a steakhouse in downtown Omaha. And yes, another steakhouse out in the countryside east of Houston. Fabulous memories. Brandon gets the third shout out. I still remember him in Ouray, where this all began at the Wright Opera House, grabbing my attention and everyone else's with impeccable Tom Petty covers. On the walk-to-walk pilgrimage, he was everywhere, making sure the trains ran on time, apparently unremittingly cheerful and positive, eyes ever fixed on our destination. Just amazing, incredibly talented, truly good people each. Collectively, the memorable soundtrack and inspiration for the journey. Thank you, Meah, Vince, and Brandon.
Thank you, Rod. Wow, I didn't expect that. That was a beautiful walk down memory lane. Some beautiful times with all of the Vote Common Good family. Wow, that was so beautiful. Joe Biden said something today during his speech, something that I've heard my whole life. And it really, I mean, it was one of those moments, a tearjerker, which I've been having all morning. Weeping may endure for a night, but joy cometh in the morning. And I just want to remind us all to take these moments, because we're not at the end of the road. We have not completed our missions. We have not gotten to that beautiful, bright place where we want to go and where we have our eyes set on. But we are allowed to rejoice, and we are allowed to hug each other and laugh and smile and rejoice and party and celebrate, Rod, with each other in these moments. And this morning, I woke up this morning feeling rejoiced and happy and so filled up with just the pleasure of seeing the fruits of something that we worked so hard for and we sacrificed so much for. And I was so proud of everyone that I'm looking at right now. I was so proud of Black women. I was so proud of people just for coming out and doing what everyone said we could not do. And I woke up this morning with my mind stayed on freedom. Well, I woke up this morning with my mind stayed on freedom. Woke up this morning with my mind stayed on freedom. Woke up this morning with my mind stayed on freedom. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Well, I'm walking and talking with my mind stayed on freedom. Yeah, I'm walking and talking with my mind stayed on freedom. I'm walking and talking with my mind stayed on freedom. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Well, it ain't no harm with your mind stayed on freedom. Ain't no harm with your mind. I'm stayed on freedom. It ain't no harm with your mind. I'm stayed on freedom. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Meah. Thank you, Meah. Hey, the Vote Common Good enterprise, the whole project was really born in the mind of Samir Selmanovic. Some of you know Samir, you've been with him already. If you haven't had a chance to meet him, here's Samir.
Hello, my name is Samir and I'm here in Harlem, New York City. Hermann Hesse once wrote, "In all beginnings dwells a magic force." In all beginnings dwells a magic force. So what is the magic force of this new beginning we find ourselves in? When I first came to United States, Americans often would proudly tell me, "Here you can be all you can be." And I wondered then, and I wonder today, whether this you is in singular or in plural. Whether I can be all I can be, or we can be all we can be. In spiritual traditions, it is known, it is taught that to be perfect is to be in need of other people. Adam was in need of another person when he was in perfect condition with God. That's in a Jewish tradition. Jesus, in a Christian tradition, when he was walking the earth, he was thirsty, he was hungry, he was in need of prayer, he was in need of friends, he was even in need of strangers. You can see in him need for others. In Buddhist tradition, inner and outer world are all one and the same. We are other people and other people are us. And that connection is how we find perfection and happiness and joy. So to be perfect is to be in need. For the last 4 years, however, we have been force-fed cynicism. We were told over and over and over again that to be happy in the world and that to be happy in life, to achieve, to be really American, is you need to take care of yourself. And that somehow that will bring us into a place we want to be. We've been diminished. And the big lie is that you don't need anyone. Well, for the next 4 years, our beautiful need for each other is coming up back to the surface. We are keenly aware that none of us can do what's most important to us in our lives alone. That to be in need of one another is this magic force in our lives, in our families, in our towns, in our communities, and the country as a whole. So do you feel this magic? I invite you to sense it. And when you take a walk with your neighbor and talk, maybe when you sit in your kitchen in the evening with the lights off, or maybe when you are in that one more Zoom meeting, sick and tired of the screen, maybe you can go from box to box and bless people who have been given to you and to whom you have been given in this life. So my prayer, my action, and action of all people who are for the common good is that we can all be together what we can be. That's the only place for us individually to thrive. There is no individual thriving with us without all of us thriving together and fulfilling our destiny and potential. So this is the day to step over the threshold in that new beginning and recognize this magic force that is bigger than any one of our lives.
So good. Thank you, Samir. Thank you for all you've been to Vote Common Good. This has been so fabulous. Hey, Shane Claiborne has been a big part of our work. And Shane, so glad you're with us tonight. Share with us.
Good to see everybody. Yeah, I'm what a great little cloud of witnesses here, and thanks everybody else that's tuning in. I don't know if y'all saw, but the Biden spent Martin Luther King Day in Philadelphia yesterday volunteering, and my community was able to be with them, especially my friend Miguel Diaz, and they sorted food that we're giving out all week. So the food that's being given out at the Simple Way is has the fingerprints of the lovely Dr. Jill Biden and the President Biden on it. But I saw all that happening, and I'm not in Philly right now, but I thought, what a just wonderful thing to to see, actual service of sharing food with people on Martin Luther King Day. But I spent the day, I'm down in North Carolina, and I spent the day at the Forge. As a lot of you know, I've been melting and transforming guns into garden tools and stuff. And I wanted to, we've heard a lot of wonderful stuff. I just wanted to give you a little reflection of what I've been learning at the Forge. We've been, taking guns that are donated and turning them into things like this. I gave Michael's got one of these down there. Several of you may have them. This is a shovel made out of a gun. And part of why I like doing it is because it's so concrete, right? Like you can actually see in an hour something go from a tool that is designed to kill into something else. And I felt like we need some concrete change. So like today, it was really beautiful to see like 17 concrete acts that are going to change people's lives from the executive orders. And I think of, although I would say, Doug, that we're still looking for the end to the federal death penalty. That wasn't one of the ones that came out today. I think that's on the list of the ones coming out tomorrow, maybe. But, we need that concrete change. But the other thing that I like about being at the Forge is as I think of the verse that obviously inspires what we do, that we'll beat our swords into plows and our spears into pruning hooks, is that the prophets don't wait, right? They don't wait on the politicians. They take things into their own hands. And I think that's what's been beautiful about being a part of Vote Common Good is, as Reverend Jacquie said, like we are the people that we're waiting for, right? That we're going to proclaim things that as they should be, even when it feels like we're a long way from that. So, when I see a gun like this is, I brought a few props, but this is a AK-47. And yet, like someone would say that's a gun. And when we look at it, we can say, no, that's just a tool that hasn't been made yet, right? That's a shovel, actually. It's a gun that hasn't been born again. and I think the invitation that we have right now is to imagine what the future could look like, right? We're a long way from it. And I think of Jesus saying, blessed are those who believe, but have not yet seen. And so in some ways, we're imagining what America could look like if everyone had this day their daily bread, what America could look like if the sick were cared for and strangers were welcomed, what America could look like if death had lost its sting. And that invitation that to kind of live into the future that we know is coming. In the last reflection from the Forge that I have, I made these crosses. This is made out of the barrel of a gun, and actually I gave one to Reverend Barber, and he may end up wearing it tomorrow. Or Robb Lee said he's going to wear his when he gives the prayer over Kamala Harris tomorrow. But I've been making these crosses and giving them out, and one of the things that I've learned as I've been forging these is that if the fire is too hot, it just kind of melts it, it destroys it. It's too, and if the fire is too cold, or if I don't leave it in the fire long enough and I bring it out, it begins to crack. So I think that we've got to figure out and be praying for the right kind of fire, right? That our anger would be pure, and that it would be the purifying fire that doesn't destroy, but that refines and heals our country. So we do need the fire right now. And I also think of, so many of the images of God's Spirit as fire, the burning bush, the God is a consuming fire. And I think as I spent time at the Forge that it's the fire that allows the metal to be shaped. And we need to keep leaning into the fire right now and allow our hearts to stay malleable. I think it's easy for us to be self-righteous or triumphalistic, but to stay leaning into the fire, and also to realize that fire is able to soften even the hardest heart. And it's hard for me to believe that sometimes. But I think what happened to Pharaoh when his heart was hardened is that he stayed away from the fire too long. And we want to keep leaning into that fire. And I've also learned that the way you put a fire out is by spreading out the coals. And the way that you keep a fire alive is by, fanning the flame and stirring the coals together. And for many of us, Vote Common Good has been one of those places where we feel the fire in us stirred and fanned and flamed. And so I think we've got to keep fanning that, right? We've got to not just disperse and celebrate the victory. And this is not the end. This is the beginning, right? So we've got work to do. And for all of you through this dark period in our history, you've been those coals that have, kept the fire alive in me. So I'm grateful for your songs and your words of inspiration and the testimonials that we've heard. So bless you. Thank you so much for keeping the fire alive in me.
Likewise, Shane. Thank you, brother. Hey, just a couple more people for you to hear from. So cherish these final moments. Vanessa Ryerse tagged in with us in the final 2 months of the tour and gave so much to us. And you get to hear from her right now. So here's Vanessa Ryerse out of Arkansas.
Biden. Oh, it feels good to say that. I worked pretty hard to make it possible to say that. Joining in with so many of these good people, with Vote Common Good, to stand up to a presidency that was forged in vulgarity and steeped in lies. I'm the pastor of a really wonderful church that is devoted to becoming more like Jesus and also more like ourselves. And I'm also a mother, and I'm trying to model this direction of growth to my kids as well. The last 4 years have been hard for caregivers and for people who care. We've watched our neighbors terrified of being deported under heartless and headless immigration policies, travel bans on the international students that usually come to study in our city, growing violence through mass shootings, complete disregard for the rotten fruit of white supremacy that costs our Black brothers and our Native sisters their very lives. It seems like every day we had to hear about how tough this president was, how strong, demonstrated by how much he bullied and beat up on the most vulnerable ones around us. As we turn a new page, President Biden, I really don't ever want to hear about how tough you are. It's my hope that with the voices of strong women in your ears, that you will tap into the power of vulnerability to lead this country. We don't need the most masculine person to ever hold the White House. We need the kind of person who cared for his little boys and put them to bed every night after their mother was killed in a car accident. The kind of person who didn't care about who got the credit as long as everyone was getting what they needed to make it through the day. I know that you have this strength born of suffering inside of you, and I pray that you will bring this to our broken-hearted nation. I hope that you will remind us how to laugh again, how to go about our days without gaping at our phones in horror, and how to not have to grieve one more lost life that didn't have to leave so soon. I hope that you will think first not to meet the needs of the already comfortable, but rather that you will lift all boats by raising the water level for the most poor and powerless. I I hope that you'll put some preschool teacher or someone with that kind of wisdom in charge of distributing the vaccines. And I hope that you will think first of the emotional, psychological, physical well-being of America before simply giving a vitamin to the economy. I hope that you will tap into the wisdom of Solomon as you consider how to bridge the gap between those that are happy about your election and those that are still somehow doubting its veracity. Most of all, I simply hope that after all I and so many other Christians have done to put ourselves on the line, standing up to family, former pastors, teachers, church members, in daily acts of bravery that have left some of us very depleted, please don't embarrass us. Don't make us regret our efforts. We want to be proud of you. We want to be able to speak of your goodness as a human being. You don't have to be perfect. We would all be grateful for a baseline of simple competency. We, all of us, can take it from there, pursuing a country that is working for the common good together.
There's Vanessa Ryerse. Isn't that so
She's
good?
good, isn't
Hey,
she?
we're gonna. Yeah. He gets to be married to her, and we all get to join her in that effort. Hey, we're gonna hear from Brian McLaren. Steff, Mahan is gonna sing for us. We have a special guest then, and then we're gonna go out with an anthem. So our time is coming to an end here, but that's because we have a lot of work to do, and this inauguration is inaugurating a new era for all of us and for the work we're going to do. So here's Brian McLaren, and then you're going to hear from Steff.
Hi, friends. When I think about the next 4 years in the Biden-Harris administration, I just have one great hope. It's really very simple. I wish we could deal with reality. For the last 4 years, our president and the supporters in his party have been just dealing with fantasies. They've been concocting enemies while they ignored the real ones. And so that's why I just hope and pray that all of us can work together with President Biden and Vice President Harris to deal with at least 4 of our actual real challenges and crises we face. First, of course, being COVID. Thankfully, President Biden has already announced a strong plan to address COVID-19, to slow the spread of the disease with our cooperation, and to speed the distribution of vaccines. Second, we have to deal with climate change. It's not going to go away. Just like COVID-19, the science tells us it's here, and it's going to get worse. And so, thankfully, again, President Biden has announced a bold plan to address climate change and create good jobs in a new green economy. We have a long way to go, but at least now we can start dealing with reality rather than denying it. And third, we have to face this catastrophic reality of white supremacy, of America's legacy and history of racism. It's been aided and abetted by so many in this current administration, but I'm confident that President Biden and Vice President Harris can lead us if we will put our hearts into this, to turn the tide and to move not just back to the old normal before Trump, but to a new normal that's better than we've ever been before, so that we can become truly a more perfect union, the beloved community that Dr. King dreamed about. And fourth, we need to deal with the problem of economic inequality, the obscene gap between the super rich, super elites, and all the rest of us will destabilize our country and create the conditions for so many other problems to get worse. But if we can face the need to help working class people and poor people to have a greater share of our national prosperity, that will be better for everybody. There are many other real problems too, but reality has a way of being interconnected. And so we deal with these most important problems, and many of the others will fall in place too. May we deal with reality.
Well, thank you, Brian McLaren. Thanks for being real with us. And so many of us who know Brian so well know that he is real as what he has been. Steff Mahan has come with us. She hooked up with us in October and carried us so much and serenaded and called us forward and sang in so many of the great places. So Steff, would you sing for us again tonight?
Yes, and thank you so much for having me do this. I woke up today with this big heart, and I wanted to just go and elbow bump people, but I really wanted to hug them, but you can't do that. But anyway, this is a song I wrote for this very reason. How we gonna build a bridge? All we do is build a wall. How can we claim we're not all the same when God made us all? How we gonna raise our babies? Yeah, how we gonna teach them grace? Preach about love on Sundays, but Mondays it's back to hate. So here's another song about loving each other, just another song about digging down deep. Take a good look at the heart of your brother. We all laugh, we all love, we all feel. We all want a better tomorrow. Yeah, 'cause everybody's had enough. All the hurt and the hatred. Yeah, we could sure use some love. Oh, but getting there it won't be easy. So much work to be done. Better or worse, it's all up to us. But a change is gonna come. Here's another song about loving each other. Just another song about digging down deep. Take a good look at the heart of your brother. We all laugh, we all love, we all feel. Yeah, change is gonna come. Yeah, so here's another song about. It's fine to sing a song about.
Oh, Steff, it is so good
Thank
to
you
hear.
so much for having me. I am so happy.
Good. I have watched Steff sing that song in sweet little environments, on street corners with almost no one around, and staring down the face of a crowd of poor boys, Proud Boys, with the same song. So it's really powerful and really incredible. Thank you, Steff. So good to have you there. Hey, we talk a lot about being on the bus, and a lot of us were on the bus, literally and metaphorically. One person drove that bus, and that was Cole. Cole's going to pop on. Cole was messaging me during this and said, hey, do you think I could share something? I said, yeah, sure, Cole, go ahead. I'd love to have you share. I'm going to have you going right after Steff. And he said, okay, I'll pull over. So somewhere on the side of a highway someplace is Cole. Hey, Cole, do you have your camera on? Are you ready to pop in here?
I'm ready.
Hey, buddy.
I am, where am I? I'm just south of Atlanta, headed to up to South Bend. Actually, I got to stop at Dan's house tomorrow. But I just wanted to say, 12 and a half months ago when I picked you guys up, I never realized how much a part of my life you all would become. And the lessons that I learned with you all, made me a better man. And, I cried today during the inauguration, and, we did this. We all did this. And I can't tell you how many text messages I got from my circle of friends that said, I watched your adventures all year long. You guys did this. This is all because of you. And, and I truly believe that we did this. We played a big part in this. And it was an honor to drive you all around and to do this. And thank you for letting me be a part of the family.
Thank you, Cole. We love you, and thanks for keeping us safe and for taking us to all these places. Hey, we're going to keep going too. There's still a lot of work to do, y'all, and there's a lot of buses to be on, and Cole's going to be driving one of those. So we'll keep up with us on that. Lots more coming from what Vote Common Good is up to, working with candidates and putting out materials and really engaging with people all over the country in a lot of really great ways. So exciting things coming. Keep your hearts open to us. Keep your calendars open to our invitations. Keep your checkbooks open. We love all that. We'd love to have you involved in all the ways. When we started saying a number of years ago, we think we can move enough faith voters to really make a difference in this election. You know what a lot of people said?
They said no.
They said no. Said no, you can't. And they said good luck. And Rob and I just saw it today. We mentioned to a woman, a journalist that was here, said the kind of work we do, and she shook her head and she goes, "Well, good luck with that."
Patron saint of lost causes.
Yeah, and we said, well, we did have a lot of good luck. We also had a lot of good love and a lot of good hope and a lot of good faith and a lot of good work. And the very start of 2020, Vince wrote this song called I Still Believe. I had said to him, Vince, I'd love to see an anthem, if there was like a rock anthem song that we could have for this. And thought we'd finish tonight with this recording that Vince did today or yesterday of I Still Believe. So we hope you still believe. We hope you stay with us. We hope we stay with this, with one another, and then we continue our one anotherism as we go. Vince, you want to say anything more about that song before it's played?
I wrote it on the plane on the way to Iowa. So thank you all.
Plane on the way to Iowa. Well, we all still believe. So we'll hear this one, and that'll be how we finish tonight. Thanks for all for being with us.
I sang it every week, every day on the bus, next to the bus, by the bus, in front of the bus.
Hey, Mary Beth, that is a great song.
Under the bus, I don't know.
Go back and play.
And it's been a lament for a lot of us. But now, through the lament,
hey, Mary
President Biden said, joy comes in the morning.
Okay. We're going to get it.
That one was good enough to hear again.
I still believe.
Here we go.
I believe that human dignity will one day be restored to those who had it ripped away. I believe in a flower in the desert it will bloom, bringing with it a new and glorious day. I believe that we are the ones we're waiting for. Put my faith in the human family. We will overcome division, look past our greed and strive, sing songs like we never sung before. Yeah. I believe that beauty gonna wither away the chains. I believe that the wounded will fly. I believe in the mountains gonna crumble to the ground. I believe valleys will rise now. I believe in a masterpiece called hope, bathed in the glorious light of love now. I believe in a voice where
Hey, faith, hope, and love for a change every day, y'all. We love you. Over and out.